Well, I'm here with Michelle on behalf of We Are Posi and Ansgog about an exciting campaign that we've got coming up. And I suppose to begin with, Michelle, I would love to know a little bit more about your story and the reason why, one, you're really, I suppose, excited in a really roundabout way to be here and share more of your story, but also the lessons that come about from your journey. So can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and having me here. So my name is Michelle and I am a ovarian cancer survivor. I was diagnosed at 24, which is very young for the disease. Majority of women that are diagnosed are usually sort of in that close to menopause age. I am a survivor. I have been given the all clear. I am currently in remission. I was diagnosed in an early stage, and as we know with cancer, early diagnosis provides the best outcomes.
Yeah. So before we go back to the beginning, what does it actually feel like for someone to go through the journey that you've been on and be told that you are now in remission?
It's an odd feeling for myself. So there's obviously the excitement, the happiness, the joy and the relief to say that you're clear of disease or there's no signs of disease. But at the same time, there's also a little bit of guilt because of how poor the outcomes can be for many, many women. I'm sure when the word cancer comes out, there's many negative connotations. But to be given the diagnosis of the news that you're all clear, it's like all your Christmases come together.
I spoke of a little friend that I had met, Lottie, who'd gone through her own cancer battle and had gone into remission twice, but she said there was always this underlying fear of, ringing the bell, but then when's the next time that, it might pop up again? Is that something that's real for you?
Definitely. For any cancer patient or anyone who's ever gone through cancer or any sort of diagnosis, there's always that fear of recurrence, the fear of will it come back or has it come back? You get told you're in remission, but it's not. Sometimes it's, you told you're in remission, but sometimes it's not that the disease is gone, it's just there's no signs of the disease or the disease is at a current stable level. Every time you do a scan, you listen to your specialists, your doctors, your oncologists, and you do your tests. But there's always that what if, is it back? You'll see a little mark or a shadow on an ultrasound or an MRI, and you wonder, is that a little tumour? Is that something that I should be worried about? With ovarian cancer, you might have some of the symptoms start to come back, and it could be caused by something completely unrelated, but there is always that possible fear, is this the first signs of recurrence? But what I do, and I know many other women do, is you just think positive. If it's back, it is what it is. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it and do what we need to do. Have faith and have trust in your treatment team.
Yeah, oh, that's amazing. Speaking of positive or being positive or thinking positively, do you have any techniques or exercises that you actually do yourself to either when you find yourself thinking, oh, what if, to come back to actually just focusing on what's happening right now, or what do I have rather than what don't I have? That's the kind of education piece around what I try and tell my kids. It's like you'll never live a happy life if you're continually focusing on something that hasn't eventuated or happened.
Of course.
Or that you can't control.
Of course, there's many techniques out there and personal choices of how you deal with your anxieties and your fears of the unknown. It's human nature to be worried and stressed about things that you have no control over. It's common. Techniques that help me, I've become very aware of what's going on and I practice mindfulness. So I accept that if at a point in time I'm feeling worried, scared, anxious, and I want to cry, I'll cry. I don't care, it's my choice. There's the whole stigma of crying is weak. It's not, it's human. So let yourself be in the moment, accept that this is, for example, if you do have a recurrence, or when I was first diagnosed, yes, I was crying, I was upset, but you let yourself do what you need to do. But then you continue on. Have that sense of confidence that I need to get through this. I need to do what's best for me. And And I know with many women, when they get diagnosed, they'll have a family, but there's no wrong in being selfish and putting yourself first and doing what you need to do for you, whether it be go for a walk, see a counsellor, start journaling, take up a hobby, you know, do things that will help you get through what I would consider to be the worst time of your life, possibly.
Yeah. They're all amazing examples. Can you take us through a little bit of the work that ANZGOG does in raising awareness or helping women of all ages kind of be more aware of what, you know, some of the telltale signs are or symptoms that you should watch out for? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
So ANZGOG, which is the Australian and New Zealand Gynaecological group, so they look after women in Australia and New Zealand, and they help with research to find a cure and treatment and improve the statistics of the outcomes. With ANZGOG, a program they have is called Survivors Teaching Students, and the idea behind this program is that survivors of ovarian cancer or carers of women who had cancer will go into the classroom, whether it be medical students at uni, nursing, paramedics, and they will tell the students the story of their experience with the disease. And that's where they will go through the symptoms and how treatment affected them. With symptoms to keep out for, something which is used a lot is BEAT, B-E-A-T, as a bit of a trigger to remember what the symptoms are. So B is for bloating, E is to do with eating, so if you get full quite quickly with a small meal. A is for abdominal, so if you've got abdominal cramps or pains, if something feels not quite right, that's it. And T is for toilet. So with ovarian cancer, one of the symptoms is needing to go to the bathroom a lot, needing to go and pee all the time. Yep. And these little things are such subtle little symptoms that many women will say, oh, it's nothing, or it's related to something else. But that's the trouble with this disease. The symptoms are so quiet, so silent, you could brush them off as anything. And that in part is why I'm very proactive and very encouraging of young women to always take their symptoms seriously. You know, doctors and GPs, whoever, will brush them off as, oh, it's just your period, or maybe it's just, you know, cut down on the milk or whatever. But, you know, be your own advocate, push for it, and knowing that what these symptoms are and having the confidence to say, hey, this doesn't feel right, this isn't normal, yeah, helps with an early diagnosis, hopefully.
Which obviously is a positive in the way of dealing with something of that outcome, correct? Now, you said off camera you are unapologetically yourself. Yes. Can you take us through blue hair, blue shoes, nail polish? You said that often you would be wearing more bright colours as well.
Yes. I am definitely unapologetically myself. I am who I am. I am colourful. I am bubbly. You know, my work colleagues say that I'm a little ray of sunshine. I'm just me. I just enjoy being myself. I've never been sort of, you know, grumpy guts. I see no benefit from it. You know, if you can improve someone's day, you know, my self-mantra is, if you meet someone, you see someone, try and leave them better than you found them, kind of thing. You know, kindness doesn't cost anything.
Absolutely. One of my favourite sayings is, if you see someone without a smile, make sure you give them one of yours.
Yes.
Now, I'm a dad of 3 kids, 2 being girls, and have an amazing wife. I suppose because it is always focused on that it's around women's health, clearly you want those that you love most to be around for as long as possible. What is something that I can, from an awareness point of view, do to help educate, you know, my own kids and their friends and so forth?
Something that you can do as being a partner or a family member of women, like you said, daughters, wives, sisters, aunties, whoever, is educating yourself on the symptoms. But also, if they come to you with concerns or they look like they're having issues expressing themselves, you know, be that soundboard. Allow them to express what's going on. Don't allow her to brush off her symptoms and say, oh, it's nothing, I'll be fine. Oh no, I need to focus on the kids. Allow her to have that selfless moment to put herself first. being aware of the symptoms. And it sounds horrible, but when she goes to a specialist, and there are specialists which are female and there are specialists which are male, but not allowing the woman to not be heard. Being supportive is the number one thing. Making sure that their concerns are heard, and whoever you're supporting knows that their opinion and feelings are valid.
Yeah. And through your journey, was there someone in particular or a number of people that were, that sounding board and that place of safety for you?
Yes, definitely. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but cancer is not uncommon in our family. So my own mum has been through breast cancer a number of times. We have a little joke that we say, we have the cockroach gene, you can't kill us. So with mum having gone through cancer a few times, when she gets your clear, she says, yep, la cucaracha lives. So the experience of that, the terminology and having to go through treatment and I guess taking ownership and charge of your body and your choices, I definitely had her as that, golden example of what you should do. And the experience that I was going through, not just the physical feelings, but also the emotional, any negative experiences, any negative interactions that I had, my feelings were helped. My feelings were validated because she would support me and say, no, how you're feeling, it's valid, it's true, you should be feeling like this, it's okay. And being positive, think this is the worst, but it can get better, be strong, it will get better.
One of my favourite sayings, and by no stretch of the imagination, is similar to your story, but I suppose the beauty of human beings is we all have our own story. But 2016 was probably the most challenging year of my life, and a saying that I now live by every single day is, often from your darkest times comes your greatest growth or lessons. Has there been one particular lesson that you've learned about yourself or about life through your journey that has helped you, but also maybe helped others that you love and care about? You can take some time.
I think for me personally, I'm very fortunate that I don't have kids, it's not my thing. But many other women who would go through this, especially if they were diagnosed quite young, that topic of fertility for them could destroy them. Possibly losing the ability, having that choice taken away from you, can be super impactful for so many women. I was very fortunate that it's not my thing, not my choice. So it's my choice, it's not my thing. But something that I did that made me feel super empowered was having the ability to do fertility preservation. And it gave me back that control that I felt that during the time of surgery and everything, I felt that I had lost.
So it's been 10 years since you were first diagnosed, and I'm sure that has been a whirlwind of a journey from lessons. Has your ability to accept things or your shift in perspective been a significant change across those 10 years?
Definitely. Before getting diagnosed, I was a workaholic. I was at uni full time, I had a casual job, part-time job, I had another casual job. It was just go, 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 go. Like weekends were not in my vocabulary. I was constantly working. And then after I got sick and recovered, I thought, what's the point in just constantly spending your life and your time working like an animal? There's no need for it. Something that I thought I would never do, but I wanted to do, was obviously finish uni, graduate, do all that, and buy a house, which I did. So in terms of perspective, it definitely gave me more of a sense to actually enjoy myself. Don't take things too seriously. If you want to go on a holiday, save up your coins and go. If you go shopping, you see something you really like, well, do it. Money comes and goes. You're only here once, enjoy it. You want to wear the weird dress that's covered in sparkles?
Yeah, I heard a podcast not too long ago around people always being worried about going on a holiday and spending the money. And I'm sure through your experience, you're kind of at the end of the day, it does come and go, but it's actually an investment in your life, and like if you viewed it as a genuine investment where you want a 3 or 4 or 5 times return, talking about those experiences with friends, family, or whoever you've attended those holidays is actually far more of a return than actually the financial gains of maybe saving that money and plugging in. And that's not to say go and blow all your money, but making those decisions has obviously become easier because of the journey.
Of course.
And then second to that, has there been people in your circle that have leaned on you going, or connected with your story that has allowed them to be free of some of the things that have held them back?
Indeed. I have many friends of mine who, even before the diagnosis, I was always that constant, that rock, that very resilient person. And then coming out on the other side of treatment and diagnosis, it sort of, not to sound strange, but it cemented the whole, Mish is tough, she's resilient, she's got this. And even so now, friends of mine who may be struggling through things will come to me and say, I don't know how to deal with this, I don't know how to cope with this. And I help them and support them as best I can, give them tips, and even if it is to pretty much be that person who just is there, being there, supporting them and allowing them to vent and get everything off their chest. Even if I can just at least do that, it's something.
You mentioned a little bit earlier some of the symptoms for ovarian cancer, and you used an acronym. Could you just reshare that in a little bit more depth?
Okay. So the cancer that I had was ovarian cancer. So the symptoms specific to ovarian cancer is bloating, feeling a bit not quite right in the belly. Because you have possibly something growing in your abdomen, with eating you'll get full a lot quicker. So your portion sizes will shrink and you'll get full really quickly. Tummy trouble. Apologies. A is abdomen, so you'll have abdominal pain, cramping, your cycle may be not as regular as normal, you might experience some pain, additional cramping, you'll have spotting or bleeding being irregular, and T is toilet. So with many women with ovarian cancer, they experience frequent urination, needing to go to the bathroom all the time because there's things pressing on them, on their bladder. And these are the symptoms that sort of I experienced. Another symptom that I had was actually gas. So, toot all the time, and you think nothing of it. You think it might be dairy or lactose, but no, it's actually a symptom of having ovarian cancer. My tumour was actually quite large, and I didn't know it was there. The way I could describe it, it was sort of the shape and size of a loaf of bread, and I didn't know it was there. And that was pressing on all my organs and my bladder and everything.
So if I'm a young or older female that is aware of some of these symptoms, what is the next step for them to go and do?
Trust your gut, be honest with yourself and put yourself first. There are so many young women who will experience these symptoms and will brush them off as just something routine, or which many women whom I have met through ANZGOG and through the support network, many women had their symptoms brushed off as something else, as something that's not serious, being told it's probably just part of your period cycle, or told maybe it's just your appendix, or maybe you just need to change your diet a bit. All these symptoms that they were experiencing, they were told that it could be something else. My word of advice, and it's the same advice I give to many of my friends who experience similar symptoms, I tell them, go to the doctor, be your own advocate and say, I want to make sure it's not something sinister. Do the blood test, do the ultrasound, rule out the worst, and then slowly break it down bit by bit. Don't allow a GP, a doctor, whoever, to not take you seriously. You have to fight for it and because at the end of the day, your health is the most important. Without your health, you have nothing.
So if there was someone that happened to be listening to us today and are currently going through what you've previously gone through, is there any advice or tips that you can provide them that will help them on that journey?
know that you're not alone. You might feel isolated. You might live in regional cities where you might be the only person in your clinic that has that disease, or you might live by yourself, or you could be like myself, being diagnosed at a young age, and you go to the clinics and you go to the support networks, and all these women are much older. You're not alone. There are so many people out there through the network, through social media, that can support you. Especially with women who are younger and they need to address the reality of fertility, you're not alone. People will support you, whether it be through social media, whether it be through attending events, information nights, or even at your clinic itself. There might be a weekly group that meets up, and that it might not be an event that solely focuses on the topic of ovarian cancer. It could be a trivia night. You could go out to bingo, but it's just that all the ladies that are part of that group may have been touched with a gynecological cancer in some way or another.
Yeah, and that sense of support and community is something that's a huge part of just
It's
being
a
able to help
huge
get you
part.
through.
It's when you've gone through a cancer diagnosis, unless you've actually been through it, it's hard for someone else to completely understand, because even though you've got a disease and you're being diagnosed, and if you're fortunate enough to reach remission, yes, your disease, there's no signs of it, but there's still that constant stress, constant worry, and recovery of that trauma that continues on many, many years later. And having that support network of people that have also gone through it, who have witnessed it and experienced it, you can get things off your chest that you possibly couldn't do with someone else who hasn't gone through it. And you're never alone, ever. There's always so many people out there. And you end up, for myself, I mean, fortunate, I've met many ladies through volunteering and through the networking, and now we're lifelong friends.